What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to Yuri on Ice episode 9. Now if you recognize this outfit, yes, I literally just finished recording episode 8 and I am recording episode 9 now because I genuinely don't remember what happens and I want to know what happens next. So I was like, I'm not waiting, I'm just doing this now and getting ahead of myself so that I don't have to take a long break like I did in between Japan and now. But if this is your first time at the channel, hi, welcome. My name is Hannah and I'm a competitive figure skater. I began skating at the age of 6 years old and coached for 10 years of my time skating, so I like to say I know a thing or two about skating. This reaction series is a little bit different than just reacting to an anime. I have already seen this once. I watched it back in 2016 when it came out, and one thing I've definitely realized is there has been a lot of surprises as I do not remember what happened for the most part. But the main goal of these reactions is really to talk about the realism within the show, and I get really nitpicky. I talk about the animation errors, that sort of thing. I try to talk through how the scoring system works, how the Grand Prix works, and all that fun stuff. So disclaimer, there will be lots of pausing and there will be lots of talking over the show while I watch it because this is not just a regular reaction. This is me talking about my life as a figure skater and how realistic this show is. But last week was the short program at Ross Telecom. A lot happened. We have the Canadian guy JJ who's in first, Yuri is in second, and Yurio is in third. But we had an interesting development at the end. It sounds like Victor's dog swallowed some food and is not doing well, so Victor needs to go back to Japan to be with his dog. I hate this kind of storyline. I'm trying to not freak out over it because I hate anytime they have to bring in animals and them like dying and stuff. Okay, it's an anime. Yuri on Ice is very dramatic, so we gotta go with the dramatic effect. But I think Victor is gonna end up going back to Japan, and so Yuri will have to do the free skate, possibly with Victor's old coach, which will be interesting to say the least. But I do think that Yuri is going to do well enough today to make it to the Grand Prix final. This is episode 9. There's still 10, 11, and 12 after this, so I think that it's kind of clear that we will probably still go to the Grand Prix final. But with that, we're going to dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts on today's episode. Also, if you are interested in getting access to my reactions early and unedited, as well as some Patreon exclusives that will be coming in July with Dandadan and Sakamoto days, go ahead and join my Patreon. The link is in the description. You can also follow me on my social medias. I am at Hannah Malay on Instagram and TikTok, and at lookingnerdy on X. But with that, let's get into it. I hate it when I do that. Oh my gosh. All right. Huh? All right, yep. Well, this is unfortunate. Okay, this is the starting order, which means it's opposite. So it goes, oh, was it the Korean skater that was in fourth? How did I miss that? I could have sworn. Interesting, okay. So Emil Nicola, Mikhail Crispino, Sungil Lee, Yuri Pizetsky, Katsuki Yuri, and Jean-Jacques Leroy. Oh my gosh, okay. Katakana is gonna be the death of me. I really wish the figure skating world would use a thing or two from Yuri on Ice and have more interesting music selections. Dang. Head empty, no thoughts? Sometimes you do have to just clear your head. No thinking, just skate. Just go in autopilot. No, you need to find a woman that's not your sister. Oh, he can talk. I've been waiting. Aw. See, and as soon as he thought, he fell. Okay, Rengoku. As soon as he started thinking, he started falling apart. 189 is still quite good. That's a very good free skate score. Good enough to end up on the podium at a Grand Prix, usually. Oh, Lord. See, that looked good. That was an obvious quad sow, just with not the greatest sound design. We're gonna just say it's animation errors. They know what they're doing. It's his sister! I'm making a weird face. I don't like sister complex stuff. I don't know why we have to keep doing that. Wow, he really just said sayonara. Dang. Beating your personal best by 20 points? That's pretty big. Please stop blushing. Your siblings! That's a horrible thing to do right before you start. Completely change the layout of your program? No. Oof. All right. That hair looks better than the last time. Good difficult entry for an axle. Yeah, this is very fast-paced. The second half of your program is hell. It's so difficult. That looked like a toe entry. I think they're just starting to reuse animation and just hope that no one who knows the difference is watching. It's okay. You know, I'm sure in a lot of different animes, people who are well-versed in whatever field is in that anime, whether it be Haikyuu, Blue Lock, I'm sure there's plenty of times when people are like, yeah, that's not realistic. Figure skating is also difficult, so. Because there's a lot of different small details that can be really hard to capture in animation. Like, if I were to go back and look, I might be able to pay closer attention, but it's getting very muddled. Like, I'm just not able to call the jumps anymore because the entries are not looking the way they're supposed to anymore. That was very good. All right. He laid down the gauntlet. So 199, yeah. Okay. So Yuri's gonna have to skate a very good free skate. Oh, he's... Sir? If it went from a planned double to single, that's probably the best mistake that you can make at this point. こっちになる。Yeah, he's making a lot of really small mistakes. See, they called that a single loop, but it looked like a half loop. Is he gonna do a quad flip at the end? So he popped the opening combo, he did a quad single, and then he two-footed a jump. Is that the only mistakes he's made, it seems? Well, he's obviously going to make it to the Grand Prix final. Is he going to come in third here? Oh. Alrighty. I swear Yuri made it to the final in this season. Second and fourth, I mean, in the show can make it, I guess, but... the synchronized head nods. I don't think that's what it is, dude. Huh. Another, that wasn't a real jump. Those are not real jumps. So, Yuri's getting fourth. So he's making it by the skin of his teeth. Men's can be all over the place. There is the occasional one where that happens, but... getting a hug. You okay there, bud? I'm hungry. Hey, I was at the Fukuoka airport. Was the dog okay? Oh, thank goodness. Goodness gracious. Alrighty. Alright, Yuri on Ice episode 9. I forgot that happened. Fourth and second nowadays, it really depends. It depends on how all over the place, and men can be all over the place. I feel like women, fourth and second definitely is a no-go. You are not making it to the Grand Prix final with fourth and second. But in the men, there's so much more messiness with how they skate. Because the women, for the most part, aren't trying as many like super difficult elements. They're not doing the quads that the men are doing. There's usually just less major meltdowns. Like, yeah, mistakes still happen a lot, but not in the way that it happens in men's. So the Grand Prix for men can kind of be all over the place. Second and fourth is still, it would definitely be a barely made it, but I mean, let's take a look at this previous 2024, 2025 Grand Prix. So this year at the Grand Prix final, we had Ilya Malinin, 2 first place, Yuma Kagiyama, 2 first place, Shun Sato, 2nd and 1st place, Adam Xiao Himfa, 1st and 3rd place, Kevin Amos, 2 2nd place, and Daniel Grassel, which was a 2nd and 3rd place. And then Mikhail Shaidorov ended up competing because Adam Xiao Himfa withdrew, and Mikhail Shaidorov got 4th and 2nd. So there's your 4th and 2nd. He did get to compete because he ended up filling in. He was the first substitute. But even with the event the way it was this year, which was all over the place, 2nd and 4th did not make it, except for the fact that he filled the role of someone who withdrew. So for the most part, you'd be looking at Yuri being the first substitute, not the first to or the last to qualify. But hey, you know, you never know. Like, some events can just get so crazy it becomes really, really difficult. But I feel like I remember what happens at the Grand Prix final. I feel like we don't actually find out the results. I feel like the season finale was just him finishing the free skate, and we never actually find out if he won. So I could be wrong. It's been a minute, and I've been not remembering most of it. But it should be interesting. But here we go, Grand Prix final. The dog is fine, thank goodness. I do think that it's kind of like I mentioned, I feel like they're starting to get a little bit lazy with the animation. I feel like they're starting to reuse stuff. I know that MAPPA is known for overworking their employees and just taking on anything and not really thinking about what they already have on their plate. And because of that, sometimes the animation can take a step back because of that. Because I feel like the first few episodes, they did a really good job. The only real issue I had was the sound design, because they use the same sound for the takeoff of every single jump. And like I said, edge jumps and toe jumps do not sound the same. Yes, they use the toe pick to assist, edge jumps do too, but it's a very different use of it. So that's like, it messes with my brain. And I think that could be sometimes why I was like, what was that? That looked wrong. Could be because in my brain, I'm just hearing a toe pick launch themselves. So I think every jump is a toe jump. But anyway, I do feel like they're getting a little bit repetitive, and they're probably using the same animation that they use for another skater, but it's a different jump, and they're just hoping that people aren't paying that close attention. So that's okay. You know, it's not like I expect everything to be picture perfect. It's still way better than a show like, well, a movie like Ice Princess that I grew up with, where she skips 2 levels, which is, by the way, impossible, and she went from like Snowplow Sam to Junior, which is skipping like 40 levels. So, you know, Ice Princess was like, someone Googled a bunch of skating terms, did not click on any links, was just like, that's a skating term, let's use it, and said a little prayer. You can tell that there's still a lot of heart going into this show. There's just some moments where I definitely just feel like they're getting a little muddy with the way they're animating it. But that being said, we're going to the Grand Prix final next. It should be an interesting event. It's still funny that Yuri is putting so much pressure on himself for the Grand Prix final, because you need to not, I mean, the whole reason why his season, the previous season before this, was such a mess was because he got last place at the Grand Prix final, and he let that get to him so that he didn't perform well at nationals. At the end of the day, getting to the Grand Prix final is just okay, good job. You've solidified yourself as a top contender for the World Championships, but you can't take it that seriously. At least in my opinion. I never competed at there. You know, maybe a professional skater that competed at the Grand Prix would disagree with me, but from what I can tell, the Grand Prix final is not a qualifying event. It is just like the halfway mark. It's solidifying whoever competes there as the best in the world, and then you just keep going on with your season. You go to nationals, and then that is the big one. If you don't do well at nationals, that's where your season will end. So anyway, it's just funny to me how they focus on the Grand Prix final and not like worlds here, but that's okay. But that's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. You can also follow me on my socials at Hannah Malay on Instagram and TikTok, and at lookingnerdy on X. And finally, if you want access to this reaction early and unedited, along with some upcoming Patreon exclusives of Dandadan and Sakamoto days, go ahead and check out my Patreon linked in the description. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Mata ne!